My run. If you don't know, pre-workout is a highly caffeinated powder that looks like this www.gnc.com web link. People often take it before workouts, like I always have, to give them the motivation they need. Anyways, I took 1.5 scoops as I normally do and went outside for a run on a particularly hot day. At the end of the run, I felt weak and my chest was clenching with pain. Upon arriving at the gas station to get a Gatorade, I realized something wasn't right. I stumbled inside and grabbed the shirt of an attendant to say please stay with me. I don't think I'm okay. My body was shaking, my vision narrowed, and the pain grew nearer. They gave me some water and talked with me to calm me down. Eventually, I felt well enough to go to my parents' house while my girlfriend was away just to be around someone. And #X200B. Going to the hospital. After half an hour at my parents', nothing was better and I realized I may actually be dying. My heart rate had not slowed down, my breath was shortening, and my chest felt like it was collapsing. I calmly looked at my mother and suggested alright, I believe now is the time we go to the emergency room. We pull up to the ER and I stumbled inside the same way you would if you were drunk. I politely tell the receptionist I need to be seen in some short while, as I am having what must be a heart attack. She hands me a form to fill out, which I make it about a third of the way through. My mind isn't cooperating and I have no strength to write anything down. The portion where it asks for my name was chicken scratch, and I could not for the life of me remember my birthday. She motioned someone to come collect me from the back urgently, but I was too embarrassed to go with them without having properly filled out a simple form. No. Let me fill out another one. They waited kindly with worried looks until I dropped the pen and said well we will just have to do this later. And #X200B. In the ER. When I get back to the ER I am writhing in pain. Nothing is lowering my heart rate. Some punk comes in asking if I would like to pay all at once for a discounted price or on a monthly basis. I ask him if we can please consider these things later. About 2 hours pass and a few injections of something or another later, they tell me I'm fine but I have a fairly rare heart condition called Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. Medlineplus.gov web link, which had been excited by the stimulants and could have ended very poorly. I had taken pre-workout my entire life and had never known how close I always was to death. The doctor explained, until my surgery, every time I take stimulants like that I am flipping a coin on my life. So, while I am an unusual case, I encourage everyone to reconsider taking such supplements and to not be so concerned with properly filling out the welcome form when going to the ER. And #X200B. TL, doctor, took pre-workout, went on a run, went to the ER, found out I have WPW and may have died of sudden cardiac arrest if I wasn't treated. I work at a local grocery store, pretty causal vibes, but an older store with a pretty old infrastructure. Well, on some occasions if we are busy enough, our point-of-sale systems will start to get bogged down, causing a pretty significant delays in all aspects of the POS system. i.e. processing your payment to the actual printing of the receipt. I'm always apologetic when this happens and typically try to explain to the customer that I'm just waiting for the system to do its thing. Today as I was waiting on the printer my customer asked me for the receipt. Our system has been on the struggle bus all day, so I reply. My apologies, our printer tends to get bogged down during the busy hours, but she has been struggling all day. Customer, who? Me? Customer, who has been struggling all day? Me, small chuckalo, no ma'am, I was talking about the printer. Customer, why does the printer need to be a girl? Me, not understanding this person is seriously angry, her name is Sheba. Customer, I didn't ask you what you named it, I'm asking why you think it's okay gender something? Me, now realizing she is in fact serious about it, my apologizes, I won't do that again. At this point she just starts to lecture me as I scan and bag the next customer stuff, who mind you has heard the entire convo this lady had with me. Other customer, why did you name her Sheba? Me, because it's a Toshiba printer. He laughs, I laugh, lady goes over to manager to complain. Manager comes over after lady left, joins my customer and myself laughing about the whole ordeal. TLDR, customer got mad I called a printer she, complains, but no one gave a shit. Edit. Wowzers, I did not think this post would gain any traction, let alone this. Thanks everyone. And for those who asked, Shiba is off the struggle bus and is doing fine now. Thanks for asking, smile. Using a throwaway account because this post is directly related to my work as a news cameraman. This morning my job was to get footage of my journalist interviewing people at a retirement home. The story was about how people in old age homes are managing during the pandemic. Not the most exciting piece of journalism, but at least I didn't have to break a sweat. Or so I thought. This is how I imagined it happening. 1. Arrive at retirement home. 2. Film journalist interviewing staff. 3. Film journalist interviewing elderly people. 4. Film b-roll of staff and elderly people doing whatever they do on a daily basis. 5. Film journalist delivering her closing speech into camera and call it a day. This is how it actually happened. 1. Arrived at the retirement home and realized the staff, the elderly people, even some of the visitors, were all dressed up as if they were invited to the Oscars. It was like arriving at a fancy event in a mental institution and all the patients were competing for the camera's attention. 2. Filmed interviews with the staff in dimly lit offices that were decorated with fairy lights, dozens of balloons, and work desks covered with food and drinks, and not to mention carrot cake that gave me stomach cramps. 3. Filmed interviews with the elderly people who spent all of their screen time gossiping about each other instead of talking about their own experiences, which happened to be how I found out that the elderly person who made the carrot cake had a habit of sabotaging her own recipes and adding random ingredients. 4. While filming B-roll, an old woman tapped me on the shoulder and instructed me to follow her to her room to film photos of her grandchildren, but the moment we got to her room, she closed the door behind us and asked me how much I charged to shoot of videos. I was at a loss for words. The old woman tried to explain to me how she's trying to support her granddaughters of age, and one of the ways she wanted to show that support was to get her better video quality, which is where I had to come in. I cut her off before it got even creepier and asked her to please show me where the men's room was. 5. Thanks to that carrot cake I was on the toilet with my face on my knees and my arms around my legs, praying for mercy on my asshole. 6. While I was in the men's room, struggling to close the floodgates between my butt cheeks, the old woman was right outside the entire time, unable to shut up about her granddaughters of. By the time we got flushed down the toilet, one of the caretakers was kind enough to escort the old woman back to her room and leave me to do my job. 7. Filmed the journalist delivering her closing speech into camera and called it a day. 8. Got back to the office and handed my memory cards to the video editor. Got a call from the producer an hour later and was told that my camera was still recording when I was using the men's room. The camera was on the ground, pointing towards my feet, so luckily no one could see my face in its most vulnerable state, but my producer made it clear that based on the audio from that recording, it was the most disturbing sounds he's ever heard in his 15-year career in news. Now the whole office knows what I sound like when I shit. TL Doctor, I had one job to do as a cameraman. Film a news story in a retirement home. I ended up getting food poisoning, trapped in a room with a porn-obsessed granny, and accidentally sharing footage of myself pooping for my boss to see. My daughter is 5 and we joke around a lot. Example, she'll call me something like a stinky fart and I'll call her a butt cheek. Today she called me something and I replied yo mama, which cracked me up because for a split second I forgot that I was her mom and had just made fun of myself. Well, that led me to teach her about the yo mama joke. Growing up we would say yo mama yo daddy yo bald-headed granny. So we get into it. We're going back and forth. I was just about lose our little name-calling battle, so I decided to bust out the yo bald-headed granny. I wasn't thinking at all. Her grandmother, her dad's mom, has recently finished chemo, so she's still pretty bald. I felt bad once she pointed it out by saying mommy grandmama is sick, you know that's why her hair is gone. TL, Doctor, I made fun of my Mill who is bald from cancer. I use my original account to share my photography work. I'm trying to keep that account as professional as possible, hence the throwaway. For the record, This story is not as wild as the stuff I usually read on here, but I thought my story might still be appropriate for this sub. You decide. I live in one of those small towns that only has one convenience store. Last night I drove to said convenience store to buy my first condoms. I decided to go after hours to lower the risk of being detected by too many people I might know. The moment I walked through those doors I noticed the person behind the counter was not who I expected, but actually one of the elderly ladies who lived down my street. I've seen her work in the store before, but not often, and especially not at night. I didn't ask any questions. I was too busy contemplating if I should still proceed with my plan or not. I figured the old lady probably wouldn't care too much about a person she hardly knew buying condoms. I also wasn't willing to lose out on losing my virginity by leaving without those condoms. So I did what needed to be done. I walked up to the counter and asked the old lady for the box of condoms on the shelf behind her. She suddenly stopped blinking and asked if I was old enough to be buying condoms. I narrowed my eyes and asked if there was an age restriction on purchasing condoms that I was unaware of. The old lady narrowed her eyes too and asked if my mom and dad knew that I was buying condoms in the middle of the night. It was not even 10 p.m. I asked the old lady if she thought it was anyone's business what I chose to buy. She said it was definitely my parents' business if I was using their money on products made for adults. While I was struggling to think of another cheeky response, the old lady showed me the box of condoms and pointed at the couple on the cover, a half-naked man and woman about to kiss. The old lady asked me to take a good look at the couple and tell her if they looked my age. I shrugged and said they just looked horny to me. The old lady said try again, young man, so I said they didn't look like her age either, but I'm sure if she needed protection she would want some. The old cockblocker put the box back on the shelf and said the best protection for kids my age was abstinence. Not gonna lie, I was tempted to say something disrespectful out of anger, but I decided to just leave the store. While outside, I noticed a homeless man standing on the corner. I recognized him. Fast forward to the two of us negotiating a deal. He gets me the condoms and in return he gets to keep the change. He agreed. I gave him the cash, and he went into the store. The homeless man walked out of the store with one large packet of Sour Patch Kids, 2 newspapers and a brand new comb. I didn't even know the store sold combs. I asked him for the condoms and he said the old lady, who he referred to by name, said that if he was there to buy condoms for teenagers then he could forget about enjoying her delicious soup the next time she visited the homeless shelter. At that moment I accepted defeat. I called my GF and explained the situation. She said no condoms, no sex. So, there I was, driving home with an empty wallet and my virginity still intact. Granny got lucky in the first round. I'll try again though. TL Doctor, my plan was to buy condoms in order to lose my virginity safely. The elderly shopkeeper's plan was to save me from losing my virginity altogether. The elderly shopkeeper succeeded. Edit. This is wild. Last time I checked I had 2 upvotes and no comments. Thank you all for the feedback. I agree with what most of you have said about the old lady. I'm not brave enough to report her to the manager because they are all family and I'm afraid it's just gonna put a target on my back. This morning the homeless man approached me and apologized for using up all my money. He didn't say sorry in so many words, but he did give me a cool wooden carving he made of an all-star sneaker. It looks really cool. I've seen a lot of his other work. He's very talented. Anyway. It's getting kind of late on my side, but before I call it a night I just wanted to let you all know that I managed to get my hands on some condoms and my GF and I agreed to have sex over the weekend. Fingers crossed I don't fuck it up too bad.